Okay. So on the last working day, we have the idea what are the different kind of cloud computing cloud providers. Are there in the current market, just like GCP, AWS, Azure, and we took AWS from there, and we have a basic concept how the console AWS console looks like, where we can find different components or resources in AWS, and uh, what are the different compute types, compute groups, how we can find the charges, charges occurring for each of the components and all. So the basic things, I hope it's clear for everyone. Now I'll be just going ahead. I'll be picking up two component, just like a EC2 server and S3 bucket. This is one of the, both of them are very important. If you are working in AWS, then you must be having those two resources or components in your account, because EC2 is just like a server, a computer server. Okay. The full form of EC2, it's called Elastic Compute Cloud. So EC2, 2C are present over here. That is why it's told EC2. Okay. And we have S3 bucket as well in today's list. So S3 bucket means it's kind of data lake. Okay. It's just like infinite space for us, and we can store file in drive format. Just like in a Windows, how we are saving the file, we are having drives. Inside drive, we can create another drive, and then we can put our files and all, just like this one. Okay. Give me some second. Yeah. Just like this one. Why this ribbon is not going from here? Yes. So just like this one, we can create another drive by putting slash, putting file name, or just like this. Similar things we can do in S3 bucket. It's just like a infinite storage system. We can put the files, and there is no such limitation that I can put this kind of things and all, but my charges will be imposed based on how much uh, file or how much size I'm consuming in my bucket. Okay, let's go through first in EC2 how we can spin up, means how we can launch a new EC2 server. Okay, what are the important parameters we need to put while creating an EC2 server? Those things we'll be learning today, as well as the same thing will be happening for S3 bucket as well. So these two important concepts will be clearing by today. And the other components, there are lots of database components. There are other whatever components I showed to you on last working day. So the components are, having this kind of parameter. We just need to put the parameter and launch the particular product. So this is exactly similar for all of the products, but as the different for different aspects, we have different components. The aspects, those parameters are different. That's why we need to we understand what are the different parameters for each of the component, and that should be the only knowledge for you. Only knowledge for us as well, to launch a particular component in AWS console. Okay, let me start with EC2 first, then the idea should be much more clear. First of all, some sentences over here on top of EC2. EC2 is nothing but, what kind of services we are getting from cloud? It's a infrastructure as a service. Yesterday I told there are three kind of services we can take from cloud, just like infrastructure as a service, then platform as a service, PaaS, IaaS, PaaS, and software as a service. We are taking the entire software from there. Okay, we are taking the infrastructure only. I'm taking infrastructure, whatever application, whatever data is required, that should be within my responsibility. in EC2 server, I'm launching an EC2. There, I'm installing, suppose Python, I mean, Python interpreter. I'm also installing a PyCharm over there. So the running Python code on top of a particular EC2 server, it's totally, I mean, I'm the responsible one because only the server I'm taking from them, and whatever application I'm running over here, that is totally under my responsibility. If something happens with the server, suppose the server is not opening after shutting it down on last working day, and I'm not able to open it. Okay, there is some issue with the suppose antivirus. So all those kind of things related to this particular server, EC2 server, that should be taken care by the company itself. Okay, the AWS support team, they will be checking what is the issue if the server is not opening. But if something happens with the application or data which is installed inside that particular EC2, then the responsibility should be the particular EC2 owner who is owning and installing all those things. Okay. Suppose I want to learn Python and I want to do these things over here. So I need to just charge for the particular EC2 server, how much or how long I'm using it. But the similar kind of things for, I mean, suppose a Python code running, there are lots of serverless operation, just like AWS Lambda function. So those kind of functions, you do not have to think about the IaaS because you are directly using as software as a service. Everything is ready made for you. Just put the code and choose what kind of code you need to execute and just execute the command. Your code will be fine. So that is why I already told this thing what is IaaS, what is SaaS on last working day. Just quickly recapitulating once more time. For EC2, it's a infrastructure as a service. Okay. So what are the different capabilities are there? Just like renting virtual machines, storing data on virtual drives. EBS is nothing but just like the concept of hard disks. Okay. Storing data, we are storing data in a particular EC2 server in EVS volumes. Distributing load across there are load balancers. This is generally for the web application. Actually, we will be not concentrating on web application because we are from data engineering team. But just to let you know that suppose our EC2 servers are hosting some web application. Okay, maybe there are 2 or 3 EC2 servers are there. So you can use load balancer. Means when a web page is hosted and in the backend those 2 servers are there, we don't want a particular server to take all the load. So that is why we can put a load balancer in between the servers so that when we are hitting the particular website at the backend, it can hit any one of the server. Based on the load balancer, it should be balancing. Okay. Scaling the services using auto scaling group. You can do the scaling part. During learning the things, I'll be telling how we can scale it up. Okay. So I'm directly jumping. Okay. Before jumping to the EC2, there are lots of EC2 instances. So this is one of the important parameter we can check from this link. Let me just show you. And please remember this thing what we are checking over here. Different instances types in EC2 means when I'll be launching EC2, they'll be asking for lots of parameter to put. So this is one of the important parameter. What is the instance I want to choose during launching an EC2 server? So the thing is just like general purpose EC2, whether it should be compute optimized, whether it should be memory optimized, those are different subjects. Based on they are creating different series of server. This is for M7 series. You can see M7G, M7I, M7I Flex. Just select any one of them. Suppose I'm selecting M7I. Okay. You should be having all the details in M7I. What are the things? Are powered by fourth generation Intel Xenon scalable processor. Okay. And just scroll a bit below. Under M7I, what are the available instances they are supporting or they are giving the infrastructure? Just have a quick look on top of that. Just like M7I large, it's having 2 CPU, 8 memory means 8 GB RAM. The hard disks or EBS, I told what is EBS? EBS is just like a hard disk. Over here, we do not tell hard disk, it's EBS volume. Okay, so EBS I need to attach later. So while launching a particular instance, they do not mention the EBS volume. I can attach how much amount of EBS I want to allocate, just like 1 TB, 2 TB, 500 GB, whatever things I want to attach, I need to choose it separately. Okay. In instance size, just the CPU and the RAM size should be declared. Okay. So from this list, why I opened this thing, I need to confirm what kind of instances I'll be using. Okay, there are lots of options. For general purpose, we have this many series. For compute optimized, we have this many series starting from C7, C6, C5. Memory optimized, it will be this series. Okay, accelerator computing for each of the subject areas, storage optimized. So based on the things, how you will be, I mean, what is your purpose of launching the EC2? Based on all those stuffs, you will be creating, you will be choosing the particular instances. Okay. So just remember what kind of instance you want to put. Just remember this name because this should be coming maybe in the drop down list while launching the EC2 server. Okay. I'm going to the deck. Okay. Now I'm inside the console page itself. The console I told you it should look like this when I'm logging into the maybe in EC2 root user, sorry, the AWS root user, the thing should be looking like in this. Now let me search over here in the search box EC2 and press enter. So all if I have any existing EC2 that should be the stat should be showed over here. Just like over here, resources. Under resources, we have instances running, elastic IPs, e-pair, placement groups, snapshot. So this kind of informations are mentioned over here. Over here, you can see instances running. The count is 0. Means we do not have any current instances which is running state. So we need to launch a new EC2 in the left hand panel. You can see instances new. Let us click on top of this. If we click on it, I'm moving to the next slide. What will happen? There is an option launch instances. Okay. So click on there, launch instances. When we are clicking on it, a blank form will be generated in front of us. Blank form means we need to put all the parameters based on which the EC2 will be launched. There should be, and the form will be up. I mean, it's not a simple form actually. All the parameters we need to put one by one in the form. The first parameter is name. When we'll be launching that EC2 instances, what should be the name? So what should be the server name actually? You can put any name based on your project. Okay. Suppose you are putting a computer's name. That's it. So just put the name. If you want to put any additional tag, you can also tag it over here. Okay. After that, scroll a bit below. So all the options will be coming in this way. If you're scrolling the entire page, all the parameters should be coming. Okay. So after putting all those things, putting the naming convention of the particular EC2, just scroll a bit below. What will appear? This thing will be appearing. Application and OS images. So what kind of OS images you need to choose? Just select it from here. There are various Linux, Amazon Linux, Red Hat, okay, AC Linux. So for Linux, there is lots of things. So just choose what kind of Linux you will be using. If you want to use Windows, just choose Windows. Okay. So whatever you'll be choosing, using, just choose it from here. There is also option when you'll be choosing from here. Suppose they're choosing Amazon Linux. In the drop down section for Amazon Linux, what are the available things are there? They'll be also showing it over here. The Linux versions and all kernel. So those kind of things they will be showing. You can also choose from the drop down. Okay. This drop down list. I have the details over here. Yeah. If we click on the drop down, you can see that those many options will be coming under Amazon Linux. Okay. So just choose any one of them. You can also see there will be a tag for free tier eligible. I told what is free tier on last working day. I am not repeating these things. So if you are in free tier, then you can choose just if you just opening this thing for just for your learning purpose. So you can choose this thing as free tier eligible. So these two OS are having the free tier eligibility. So choose any one of them and proceed. Okay. So if I scroll a bit below, then I'll be receiving the option for instance type. Okay, this is the same thing that we checked in the portal. Which kind of instance I need to pick it up. So I can find all the instances available in the drop down section. But over here they are using T2.micro. T2.micro is one of the instances and we can get the free tier eligibility on T2 micro because the particular sizes of CPU and the RAM size is very low. That is why generally for any kind of purpose, it will not be solving. As the CPU size and the memory is very low, we cannot do major works over there. Just for learning purpose, they're launching those kind of stuffs here. So let me show you once more time where is T2 micro. For general purpose, yes, it's only over here, the T2 series. I'm clicking on T2 series. You can see T2 micro. So this is the one which is shown in our example. It's having one CPU and 1 GB of memory, means 1 GB RAM. So those are the things. We are choosing the same thing over here because it's a free tier eligible one. So just choose it and scroll a bit below. The next thing is key pair logging. Means when your EC2 is ready, then how will be logging into that EC2? Okay, so this is key pair login. Moving to the next slide, you will be able to understand. Yes, key pair login means when you will be logging into the EC2 server, you'll be logging maybe by different client. Maybe there is an important client called Putty. Okay, in Putty, you can really connect to the Linux server. While connecting to the Linux server, you need to put some kind of authentication method. There can be private file key format, just like it can be in .pem or .ppk file. You just need to attach those files. The file should be generated from here. Okay, the security file should be generated from here. Just you need to attach those files, or you need to put some key value pair combination, just like a username and password. So You need to choose those option, what kind of key value pair you will be putting, what kind of private file format you will be putting. Just select it from here and scroll below. Okay. If we scroll further below, we will be getting the network settings. Yesterday, I told a particular EC2 server must be having attached with some network. Otherwise, the particular EC2 cannot be accessible from other devices. So that is why choose the important things, just like what kind of things you will be choosing. A VPC is already attached over here. VPC is nothing but it's collection of IP addresses. It's like subnet. Okay. So a VPC, just you need to check whether the a particular VPC is attached to it. If you want any SSH is required because we'll be doing all kind of shell command when the Linux is up. Apart from that, if you want to do, I mean, this kind of hosting of web applications and all, then you need to choose the HTTP, HTTPS, all those kind of things. Otherwise, no need to put other options and scroll a bit below. Okay. So in the below section, this is very, very important. Configure storage means what should be the hard disk size. Okay. You need to choose the hard disk size and the EBS, it's called EBS volume. So the EBS can be GP2 or GP3. GP means general purpose. So generally people use GP2 is the generalized storage part. So just choose how much amount, how much GB of EBS volume you want to attach in with your EC2. Just choose it from here and scroll a bit below. Okay. So EBS volume 8 GB. It should be GP2 or I do not need any other things, any other important things, and scroll a bit below. Means your EC2 should be having 8 GB of hard disk. Okay. Okay. I'm scrolling a bit more and I'm getting advanced details. In advanced details, what are the things? IAM instance profile means IAM things I told yesterday session. Suppose I want the access part needs to be splitted for the one who will be only using the EC2 in my AWS account. They should be having a separate set of access, because why I should be providing all the access, all the component access. They only need EC2 access, so I can add the particular users in a particular group and give them a IAM role, internet access management. Oh, sorry, identity access management. Okay. So just we can control the IAM. If we want to create a new profile, I can create it from here and choose the IAM role from here. Okay. Yeah. So those are the thing important. We do not have any other thing. When all the details have been put, there is a final finish or complete button at the end. Click on there and wait for some more minutes. Then you can see the first instances will be created after few times. First of all, it should be showing over here pending. Okay. Wait for some time. It should be showing running status in this one. Okay. So your instance is successfully launched. You can use those instances. And when you'll be selecting the instances, suppose your server is very slow or anything, you do not have to physically open the server, or do not need to logically open the server. Suppose this is the one, just choose it from here. You have multiple option in action button. There's a drop down in action. You can choose whether you need to restart this, whether you need to shutting it down, whether you need to terminate the entire server. You can perform all the things from the action. Okay, just select it. If you have multiple EC2 instances, all the things should be coming over here in this window one by one. This one we just launched, putting all those input parameters. So just select it and do the required needful actions from here. And whatever input parameter we just put while creating that EC2 log, we can we can see the same thing over here in individual tab part, just like the security part, the networking part, the storage part, uh, monitoring tags, all those things you can find it in different sheet. Okay, so this is how we can successfully launch an EC2. It's very simple now for us. We just need to know all those parameters, and we have shown it over here. It's a free test service, but we also need to know the particular cost is involved with the instances that I showed with a different example in last day's working session, that when we have when we are using this for our purpose solving, means we want to install some application inside the EC2 servers and all, then we need to determine first what kind of sizes, EBS volumes, what kind of instances type should be there, which is, on top of which we can do work. The 1 GB RAM, it's not sufficient for us to do the work, or one CPU is not fine for us. So that is why uh, we need to check it first, and we need to choose the instances. Based on the usage of the instances, we will be charging. Means based on hours, especially. Okay. The particular costing part I already showed to you. I hope you can recall it. Okay. So those are all about EC2. Now I'll be showing S3 bucket. Okay. S3 bucket, we do not have to think about the host server. S3 bucket is a direct software as a service, SaaS. We do not have to think what is the particular backend server, on top of which drive we can use it and all. We do not have to bother about this. We can directly click on an S3 bucket and we can save it. We can save our important files over there. Okay. So what are the main usefulness of the S3 bucket? It's one of the main building blocks in AWS. Infinitely scaling storage means I'll be putting my file, but there should not be any limitless. Uh, there should not be any limit that I can store this many files, or how I can store this many memories and all. It is having infinitely scaled. Okay. Disaster recovery. This is I already told this thing on last working day, and even most of the components are having the same kind of advantage for disaster recovery. Backup and storage, hybrid cloud storage, data lake. Yeah, this is very important. Data lake and big data analytics. So data lake and big data. Why we are telling this thing? In S3 bucket, I told you, excuse me, we can store the data in file format. Maybe it can be a Parquet file, maybe it can be CSV file. Okay. On top of this file, we can directly create tables, just like external tables. There are lots of important component in big data, just like called Hive. Hive is a database. So pointing on top of S3 bucket, we are putting the files over there. On top of these files, we are creating tables. It's relational database tables, what we discussed during our SQL classes. Okay. So we can easily query on top of the files. Maybe I'm doing some analysis. I need the data analysis on top of a big file. Okay, the file is very big in Excel. Even if I'm opening the Excel, it's very hard to do the analysis by myself. So what we can do, we can create a table on top of this file, and we can do all kind of select operation. We know what is DQL, In DQL, we have done lots of analysis, lots of data representation. So the similar kind of thing we can do on top of my file in Hive database. So at the back end, the file should be stored in S3 bucket. So that is why it's called data lake, and it should be useful for big data analytics. Okay, we can also host web application by S3 bucket. It's been used for integration tool as well. And just like EC2, people who are using the AWS account for a particular project, they also used to launch multiple S3 bucket. This is the mandatory component. The peoples in AWS, they're also using very frequently, just like a EC2 server. Okay, moving to the next topic. Yes, I told how it works. It store objects into directory. The name should be globally unique. Means the S3 bucket's name cannot be repetitive for the all the AWS account. Okay, and we need to follow particular naming convention, just like the numerics. We cannot start with the numerics. The name should be with alphabets, and we can put underscore while want to segregate them with different words. Should not have to put different words. Rather, we can put underscore. Okay. This is for S3 bucket. And while filling up the form of S3 bucket, so you can check with S3 and you can search with S3 if there is no such S3 instances. So just create a new S3 bucket, and the form is very less. As we are using software as a service, all the backend, the IP addresses, the networking, all those things, they will be managing. Okay, just we need to put the bucket name and from which region you will be launching that S3 bucket. Choose all those things. And I think in the below section, the particular authentication method was also there. So the key value pair you need to generate from there. And I believe that, yeah, there is no such important parameters you need to put again. Just click on submit and your S3 bucket should be ready for you. Okay, so that is why I do not put the other forms. I mean, there is no such other parameters you need to put. Just those parameters are sufficient. Okay, so the same way we can create a S3 bucket. So I hope it's understandable. Please let me know if it's not understandable for you. Okay, I find Akila. Akila, you are joining long days.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is how we can create a EC2 or a S3 bucket. If you're quite interested for working in cloud, so you can also try this thing, create a free tier account in with free of cost, and just try to launch a S3 bucket and EC2 and have a quick use on top of it. Just try it from your side as well. Okay. Now I'm talking about EMR cluster. Okay, one more important concept on top of EC2. While launching EC2, we are launching instance type as well as we are attaching some EBS volumes. Those things I already told. So there are two ways of charging. One is for EC2 instances charging, and another one is EBS volume charging. So when you are terminating, suppose your work is done on top of this EC2, you want to terminate the EC2 server. If you are not terminating it, then you will be chargeable. Okay. So if we think that our work is completed on top of EC2, we can delete that instance or we can terminate that instance. So you can terminate it as well as we need to terminate the particular EBS volume which is attached to it. Suppose we did not delete the EBS volume, we only delete the EC2 instances. We will be charged in the next month for the EBS volume as well. Although the EBS volume is not attached with any EC2, still it will be chargeable. So that is why while eliminating any EC2, generally we need to terminate that EC2 as well as we need to terminate all the EBS volume attached with that EC2. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to introduce some more components just like EMR. This is very, very important component for the big data analytics. EMR is Elastic Map Reduce. It's working as a map reduce to do the large or big data's calculation. So while launching an EMR clusters, EMR is nothing but a collection of EC2 servers. While launching EMR, we need to think about there should be a core node and lots of task nodes. Okay, core node should be maybe one core node can be there or multiple core nodes can be there. So as of now, if we think one core node is there, so for one particular core node, one EC2 will be responsible. So what kind of instance type of the EC2s and all and how many EC2 instances should be there, we need to choose it. Okay. For task node, we can be having multiple EC2 instances because the task node will be working the map reduce concept. You are executing some job in the backend, the job will be processing the data. Okay. And the entire processing of data should be going parallelly. There should be large calculation, but the calculation can be, the performance issue can be solved if we run all the nodes parallelly. They're doing the calculation parallelly. Okay. So that is why while launching an EMR clusters, we need to follow lots of tips. Along with that, we need to choose what kind of EC2 instances we'll be choosing, how many numbers of EC2 instances I'll be choosing for core node, task nodes, and all. Okay. But EMR is not in free tier services. It's very, very expensive tool or is very, very expensive component or resources. What you can tell. So just choose it or handle it carefully while launching any EMR cluster. Apart from that, we have other things as well. AWS serverless. I'm putting some name over here. Serverless means we do not have to think about the server name, the hosting server. We are directly using the software. It's software as a service. So we can directly launch the software. Okay. Just like AWS Lambda. I already told Lambda functions in at the first time. During the starting of our classes. So AWS Lambda, what is AWS Lambda? Suppose I need to run any JavaScript or Python code. So we can open the resource AWS Lambda. Over there, we have the option of choosing the particular language on top of which we will be putting our codes. Suppose I want to run a JavaScript. So you have the option, you have the drop down to select the language JavaScript there. Okay. And there is a body where you can put your code and just run it. Okay. So you should be chargeable for the running part. Okay. But where is the host? There may be some backend computer where you are installing some interpreter, Python interpreter or JavaScript. Otherwise, why it should be running? So that is why the concept is serverless. Means the user do not have to think about the server. They are directly using the software for application. Similar for databases. Just like during our SQL classes, we installed MySQL database at our own system. Okay. And if something happens to the databases, then we will be the one for the responsible. We need to check it from our own side what is happening in the databases. But if we are directly using their database, AWS database, then we do not have to think about the backend infrastructure. We are directly using their database. So anything happens to the database, if the database is not opening or database is slow, or any patching activity is required, any updated software needs to be installed and all, then we can directly choose the ready-made database available in AWS. So also there we do not have to think about the backend server. Okay, the databases, the messaging service, the storage service. There are lots of service where we do not have to bother about the backend server. We can directly using service. Okay, it's kind of software as a service platform. Yeah, so those are all the things that I covered today. Nothing much I'll be covering for today's session. Those are the all topics. Any doubts so far from anyone during the learning part? So the thing I just want to say, uh, yeah, actually you're asking something. Sorry.
No, no, nothing. Actually, I missed a couple of classes. That's where I'm not on track of things. So I need to get back to the videos you
Yeah, yeah,
shared, and
yeah.
then
Video I
I
already shared.
yeah.
Yeah, you need to check it from there. So
Okay.
just a quick thing. So from
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, we started the basics of cloud computing. It's very, very basics. I mean, if
Okay.
you are
Okay.
quite new for a cloud,
Yeah.
especially for
Mm.
AWS, so how the console looks like, AWS console, where to log in, where you can find different components. So today we just
Okay.
pick up two important components, EC2 and S3 bucket, and how to launch it. Okay, so for AWS, if you have any desire for, I mean, just to quickly log in AWS, so you can create an account for AWS. There are free tier account, free tier
Mm-hmm.
services, which should be totally cost free. So you
Oh.
can launch those instances by your own, and you can have a quick test by your own.
Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
currently, I'm still learning SQL, sir. Like, after your classes, I
Okay.
am going back and checking everything. Like, I'm yet to learn Python, and then I have to come on this.
Okay, no issue, no issue. Take your time.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
if there is any issue, you can also join or continue the next batches as well. And for everyone who is
Yes.
having any doubts or any issue, maybe now you are understanding the SQLs and also maybe you have lots of question in SQL, so you can join the new batches on the same day
Yes.
when you are learning. You
Mm.
can brush up it, and if there
Yeah.
is any question arises, then you can ask the question on top of SQL because SQL is the main basic
Yeah.
building block
For data. Mm.
for data, correct. You must have
Yeah.
to know SQL. Maybe you are switching your tools, you are learning new tools, but the basic thing should be also SQL. The tools are also using
SQL. Yeah.
SQL. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah,
So
learn it
when
if there is any stuck
when
point
is
we can.
the new batch going to start, sir?
It should be from next week. So
Oh, next
today,
week. Okay.
yesterday and today we just covered those parts, and
Okay.
the next 3 days I'll be covering the concept of Hadoop as well. Hadoop, just
Okay.
it's for big data technology. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
be comparing with Python. In Python, we also learn how we can process data. So the similar
Yeah.
thing will be showing in Hadoop as well, comparing Python's normal data processing. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that's all for today. Let's connect in
Yes, sir.
tomorrow's session.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks. Bye
Yes, sir.
bye.
Bye. Have a good day.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.